What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video. We get a brand new map, chapter 3, and I'm going to be introducing all the POI analysis. Going to do all the named locations first, and then I'll start doing, split drops and stuff like that, or unnamed locations. So first off, we're going to start off with the Daily Bugle. I'm going to call it the Daily, because I don't know how to say that last word to be 100% honest. But in total, if we look over here at chest, I don't know how updated this is, but work in progress. There is in total, there's a 44 or 48 chests here. Most of them are within these buildings here. So this would be main, and then these would be the side buildings with this one being number 1, 2, and 3 for chest, and then chests sprinkled all around like that. As well as having a lot of chests, it also has a lot of floor spawns. So in total there's 144 floor spawns, which means you can find, good guns around here and all the, crooks throughout these buildings, as well as finding pads. So make sure you look in majority of the floor spawns. There's a good chance you can probably end up leaving here with 2 to 3 pads, just because there is so many floor spawns. At minimum, you should always be leaving with 1 pad. So if you find that you're not leaving with pads, make sure you go back in the VOD and kind of look around to see what places you aren't checking and see, where you're missing. Now, this might be a little bit surprising, but there isn't much ammo boxes for how much of everything else it is. There's only 34, but you don't really need to bother with the ammo boxes because of all the floor spawns that are, riddled throughout the place. You can almost just grab ammo from there, but you should be leaving with about 200 to 300, I feel like, with how much ammo boxes if you're unconned here. If conned, maybe like, I don't know, 180. It's really, this meta is really spray heavy, so you need really as much ammo as possible. So maybe like 180 to 200 if you're conned, and if you win, ideally. So yeah, now I'm going to bring you guys to in-game screenshots, and we're going to break down scenarios in there. Alrighty, here's the first screenshot I have, and here is the Daily Bugle, the main building here. We kind of see the side buildings over here briefly. Let's do black. And we can notice that there's a chest on spawn. There isn't really any other floor spawns on top, just this one chest. So if there is a chest there, then you'll probably have to land someone up here. The good news is that these windows you can drop down and there's spider webs in here, and we'll see later on after I go through all the screenshots. I'm going to show you guys where the spider webs go and how you can kind of use that to your advantage in this POI. But the spider webs catch your fall and they also launch you a little distance and you won't take fall damage. So we notice there's a chest here, and there's also a chest down here, and there's floor spawns kind of like riddled throughout. And really what this is, you're going to be going in, you're going to have to call out, mark the stuff when you're flying in, see what's all around, see where they're going. If they're going over here, then maybe land one on top. He gets the AR because he's going to be landing first, and he can look for, a beam on somebody who's just still flying in. You do the same with the floor spawns down here. Especially just getting this chest, you just have free reign over this top half of the building, and then you can kind of push your way down because you should already have loot more than everyone else. But if it's going to be a 50-50 up here, and then if you're not going to get it, you can always dive down into the spider web and run away, or even jump off and try to hit this spider web or one of the other spider webs around. So here's a screenshot of inside. So we just saw up top here. Now we're going to see inside. We can see the windows here, and I'm pretty sure there's another one somewhere else. But we kind of have 3 spider webs. The easiest one to hit is this one here because you just drop down to this window and it will launch you up here. So again, I'll show you later on, but it does something like this. The hardest one to hit is over here. You have to break the little like barriers that's blocking you from getting in. You have to break that to hit this one. So it's kind of not worth it if you're trying to go quick. And the one down here, you can't sneak past it without breaking it, or like yeah, without breaking it. But you can place a stair here, and that will break it. But you can hit this one, loot up here, and then work your way down, something like that. So in here, this would be like the factory or whatever you would want to call this, assembly line, something like that. And this is connected to the bugle or like the main building, but it's kind of like its own lower half. You could easily hit one of the cobwebs that are up here and then enter down here through that. The metal situation in here is kind of decent. Like these buildings or little pieces here give you about 8 to 10 metal each, but the actual assembly line right here gives you about 20 to 35 each, depending on if you hit your crits and whatnot. So in this just room alone, if you end up hitting a lot of this stuff here, you might get probably like 180, probably like 150 to 200 metal, depending on how diligent you want to be. Maybe even less or more, but it really depends on if you're con. But you should always 100% be hitting at least this right here, because it's pretty easy just to hit all that and be on your way. Now we have some side angles here of the two buildings. I don't know what does that say? I can't read that. But you can make names, and as you can see, there's tons of spider webs littered kind of all around this place, and you can use those to your advantages, like I'll talk about later on. But as you can see briefly, there is a vending machine here, and there's another one that's right here. So if you land on this side of the map here, you kind of have access to two vending machines, because assuming that we send one person to the top here and maybe the second one lands like bottom here and he ends up going down towards factory and looting, he might have control over this vending machine. But if they decide to send two in this main half over here, then you can almost kind of get over there, grab, a pump, your teammate comes with you, grabs a striker, whatever the hell it's called now, break the vending machine, and then they're kind of shit out of luck. But there is one right here. So we kind of get to see some of the dynamics here. And imagine how the fights are going to be. It's going to be split down the middle just like this. And we're going to have, one, two, and then two landed in here. Which obviously this team will have the advantage because they do have the natural height, as we can see. But this team does have a good amount of loot that's pretty compact. So they could, if they wanted to, just take this and then rotate out. That is an option. They can easily run out or take one of the zip lines or do something like that. Or use the spider webs to kind of move around and kind of quickly get around the map and look for different angles on them, something like that. So we do have another angle here where we get to see a little bit more of the spider webs around here. You can kind of see, where they will launch you, what are kind of the angles you get here and everything like that. So make sure you mess around and actually see which way you can go and where you can go and everything. The big downside is you can't really land on the rooftops here, because remember we have the first screenshot, we have that guy who's gonna be standing on the ledge once he gets a chest, and if he gets an AR, you're dead if you land on either of these buildings, because that gun is a beam, as you must know, or on the top. So the options would probably be kind of forced into the front or even the back side of them. If there's no chest on top, then you might be able to go up here, but it is still risky because the ledges of the main building are higher up than the rooftops here. So I would be pretty careful with that. Now we do have the reboot van here, and there are a fair amount of spider webs that are around the reboot van, which can make it a little awkward. We also see a car spawn. There's another car spawn on the other side of this building over here, so there's only two car spawns for here, which is kind of bad, but you still get so much loot. So we have a reboot van in the middle. It's pretty easily accessed from anybody. If your guy gets cracked first, you're kind of screwed because they will easily have the height on you and be able to spray down from different angles and everything like that. But the other side can do that too. Spiderwebs will be kind of annoying because that means your teammate can easily hit the spiderweb that's up here, or the enemy, and then find their way down without taking much fall damage, or even jump to the zip line and then just jump down on you. So when you get knocked, you're going to be pretty much screwed if you're going to try to get this reboot off, because it is in a pretty bad spot. We have another angle of the front over here, and as you can see, we can kind of see the ledge here is, I guess it's about almost the same height of here, but on top is way higher, and here's kind of the length we get here. So I guess if he lands down here and there's no chest up top, then you're safe to beam him. But if there is a chest on top, then you should be really careful. But we also get to see kind of like the front portion of it, so we get to see more spider webs that are, all the way throughout, and we also get to see a zip line that goes across like this. The zip line you won't be using that much unless you hit a spider web up to one and use it to kind of like drop on somebody over here or something like that. The downside is that if they have visual sound effects on, they'll see it and you'll probably get beamed. Zip lines will mainly be used by people who are trying to third party you that have rotated in later on, which will be annoying. But other than that, up front, there's a bus right here that gives you a decent metal. Like I'm pretty sure it gives you like 40 to 50 metal. And then there's a truck also back here, which you'll see later on, which also gives you like 30 to 40 metal. I'm pretty sure, like a back end of a truck. There's also decent fishing spots here, like throughout. I'd say you probably get around 3 to 5 fishing spots every game, but there is so much loot again that you probably won't have that much time to fish because you need to get surge and everything. Now on the topic of nearby places that can rotate in, the biggest threat is for sure from Lucky Landing. Is that what it's called? Yeah, Lucky Landing right here, because there isn't that much chest here. So if this is unconned, what is this? 836. Wait, 17. Yes, there's only 17 chests here. So this is unconned, and there's barely any metal here. So if they want metal, they're going to pretty much have to go into the bugle, yeah, or they can loop around. There's a good amount of metal over here as well, but that depends on which way they want to go or depending on where zone is. But if they're unconned, it's a pretty easy push to just run up here and then either zip line across to the other side or even just sit on the edge of this, just like if this was Camp COD, sit on the edge of here and just go for surge tags on you. Especially if you guys are fighting, they can get so much surge just chilling up here and then seeing them being like, okay, let's rotate out, and they just dip. So Lucky's gonna be pretty annoying in terms of people that can key you. Other places that I mean are iffy because again I didn't get to really watch that many scrims is that Coney Crossroads can key you. If they're unconned here, they can push in. This is a pretty easy push. Again, if you have someone with visual sound effects on, you'll probably be able to hear them in their car around here. So make sure one of your duo members has visual sound effects on. But it would make more sense for them to go up through here, one of these two ways, and key than to go all the way up like this. But they can go that way if they want, depending on where zone is. Another place I was thinking is that first off, I didn't even notice how many chests are over here. Holy shit. But I'd imagine this would be a pretty decent duo split. Then you can kind of loot all of this if you want, or go this way. You kind of have a lot of options with this split over here. But if this does 1, 2 over here, and they have pretty good loot, they might just decide to go straight in like this. But they do both have to loot up, heal up, and I don't think there's any car spawns over here. So you do have a pretty good amount of time because they have to do this distance here, as well as heal and everything. So you might be able to win your fight and then be in a decent position for when whoever decides to come and push you. Other than that, there might be another like shambles split over here that somebody might do. There isn't much chest here, so it might have to be something like this, even with this included. But I doubt they're going to be pushing you because if somebody decides to do a split like this, they're a pretty passive player and they're not going to do a W key like this. They're going to be, looting up more and then going for surge or whatever. So, but they might come up and go for surge on you here. That's really it for people that can push in. I don't think Sanctuary is going to bother too much with you because they do have a lot of to loot, and it's kind of like stealthy, or not stealthy, it's kind of like corny because the loot is pretty split up. So if you look here, just at Sanctuary, I mean, like that's it split up. So you could easily have someone landed here, someone landed here, and then you have a long drawn out fight, which can also happen over here as well if we look at it because we have 2 buildings split down the middle. So it'd be like 1, 2, 1, 2, and then you have to, you know, get this fight underway. Alrighty, you should have just watched all the spiderweb, different combinations and ways you could do. Now we're just going to talk about the metal situation. I think this place is definitely lacking pretty much on its metal. I'm pretty sure each of these up here gives you 23. So you can get about, what, 20, 40, 60, about 69 metal up here. But if we speed up, you know, a lot of places throughout this entire building gives you like 5 to 10 metal, but a big one is that the pallets are actually metal. So there's 24 metal there, and I missed another one up top, so that's 48 metal there, and there's a big one over here too. So this is actually metal, which is really interesting. There's 78 metal. I thought that was like, oh, okay, cool. As we see, I'm just kind of running around and checking what's metal. You know, a lot of the places gives like 8 to 7 metal, so it's more of stuff that while you're looting and running around, you would be hitting stuff, just grabbing as little metal as possible. But the big thing that gives metal are these TVs. So the big TVs actually don't give much. The big ones like that only give about 8 to 10. And the medium-sized ones give about, I'd say probably about 9 to 13. And then some of them just randomly throughout give like 15 to 25. So make sure you're hitting most of the TVs. I'll see if I can skip ahead. I mean, we can see TVs all throughout here. This is a big room in here. This one has TVs spread all the way around. These right here, these cafeteria things give 10-ish metal. But the biggest one for metal will probably end up being this office down here, because each of the desk gives 9 metal each. So again, it's not much, but if you're running through, you can quickly farm this in like 5 seconds if you're unconned, or even less than that, and just being like hit, 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 and run around. But there are loads of TVs all the way around here. So you can see, you know, I'm just mining stuff. Here's another TV. This one gives 14 metal. Go in here, there's even more TVs, 13, another TV, 15. I just capped out. And then I'm down on the bottom floor, I'm just looking around, you know, what gives me metal still. Now we run in here. I talked about this briefly. I was like, okay, what gives me metal in here? There's a bounty board, which I was interested in. These wires up here gives you pretty decent metal, 12 each, but there's not much of them. 9, that gives you nothing. These, whatever these called, give you basically nothing. 10, this gives you really, I mean, nothing exciting for the metal. There's a slurp barrel, but these here give you about 34 to 35. So let's see if we can find one where I hit all of them. So yeah, about 30 to 40 metal, something like that, which is pretty good just for inside here, and everything else you can hit. And then I think that's pretty much it for the metal in this actual building. I'm just running around looking, but that's really it for the metal that's in the main building here. So I didn't include it, but inside the 2 buildings here on either side, there isn't much metal at all. I say there's probably about 100 metal in each of them. So it's pretty down bad if you land on these sides and your plan is to rotate out, because you need to find, oh, I don't know why it just got dark, but you need to find a different way to get your metal up here. But I'm just running around looking for stuff, and if we notice there briefly, we see a little truck here. See if I can get, yeah, okay, I go ahead and hit it. So I'm over here, I'm gonna, okay, let's go look around, see what we got here. And this gives pretty good metal. I mean, the back end of a truck, we all know the metal that gives. But you can also hit this one down here. So that's about, you know, what, 100, 120 metal just from that alone. There's also a tractor over here, and then I show myself hitting the bus out front as well. So I just broke the bus, and now I'm just showing some extra stuff here. First one, which I think is pretty important, is, let's see if I show it, there's a vending machine, another one over there, like I talked about, but you can actually slide through these windows. Which I thought was cool.